Human relationships are not just emotional exchanges, they are like psychological ecosystems, delicate and complex. When deceit enters that system, it doesn't only break trust, it shatters the shared reality two people have agreed to create together. In the intimate bond between a man and a woman, there is often an unspoken agreement, honesty, respect, and emotional presence. But when a man starts hiding another woman, he isn't simply making a poor choice, he's rewriting the very structure of the relationship. And if you don't have the awareness to notice those early ripples, the whole foundation can crumble before you even understand what happened. This isn't about suspicion, it's about awareness. It's not about paranoia, it's about recognizing patterns. When you start to observe, not with emotion, but with clarity, you begin to see that people always leave traces, even when they're trying to hide. A man doesn't have to confess to show you the truth. His behavior, his energy, the small changes in his routine, they all speak louder than words. You don't need proof in the traditional sense. You need strength, clarity, and the courage to trust what you already feel. When a man is hiding another woman, one of the most subtle yet harmful tactics he often uses is avoiding responsibility through deflection. It usually doesn't start with obvious betrayals or loud arguments. It begins with a quiet wearing away of accountability. He shifts conversations away from his own actions and tries to paint your valid concerns as overreactions or emotional instability. This is a defense mechanism rooted in his need to protect his ego and keep control over the narrative. Deflection gives him the ability to decide what stays visible and what remains in the shadows. It's a clever way to avoid the weight of guilt while still holding on to the benefits of your trust and emotional investment. At first, it might seem like minor defensiveness. You ask a simple question, maybe about where he was, why he didn't reply to your message, or why his tone feels different, and he responds with irritation or sarcasm. That irritation isn't just frustration, it's a form of emotional disguise. It shuts the conversation down and makes you feel like you're the one causing problems. Too sensitive, too insecure, or too controlling. But the truth is, you're reacting to a change in the emotional rhythm of the relationship, something your intuition has already picked up. Because he is determined to keep his secret, he works to undermine your perception. Through subtle emotional manipulation, he starts teaching you to doubt yourself. This pattern can grow into something far more toxic. He might begin suggesting that you're equally responsible for the distance between you, or that your past behavior pushed him into secrecy. He uses moments from your history as weapons, turning your vulnerabilities against you to silence your questions. You may hear things like, "You've always been so suspicious," or "I can't even talk to you without you overreacting." These aren't harmless comments, they're psychological tools designed to shame you and stop you from probing deeper. What he's really doing is projecting his guilt onto you, twisting your emotions so that you start censoring your own thoughts before you ever confront him again. The real danger lies here. Once this cycle takes hold, it begins to alter how you see yourself in the relationship. You start believing that asking questions or seeking clarity is somehow a betrayal of trust. You begin worrying more about how your concerns might upset him than about what his answers would reveal. This inner conflict, a battle between your gut instinct and your trained self-doubt, can leave you emotionally frozen. You find yourself making excuses for him. He's tired, work has been stressful, maybe you're just imagining things. And little by little, you betray your own truth to protect an illusion of trust. Deflection isn't just avoidance, it's a calculated form of emotional control. A man who's hiding another woman can't afford to let you get too close to the truth. So he uses his words, his tone, his timing, even moments of tenderness as tools to distract and confuse you. He may pick fights to create distance, or become unexpectedly affectionate to throw you off. This back and forth keeps you off balance, never knowing which version of him you'll encounter next, and in that confusion, your ability to see clearly fades. The most dangerous part of this isn't even the betrayal itself, it's how it slowly erodes your trust in yourself. When you're constantly made to feel your concerns are silly or dramatic, You begin silencing your own voice. You start fearing your own intuition, and when a woman disconnects from her inner knowing, she becomes easier to control, easier to pacify, and easier to replace emotionally, because she has been conditioned to stay quiet, even in moments of pain. So, how do you break this pattern? Not by fighting fire with fire, but by stepping back and finding clarity. Take the emotions out of it for a moment and ask yourself the harder questions. Does his behavior feel like love or like avoidance? Does he bring me calm, or am I always trying not to upset him? Shift your focus away from convincing him and toward reconnecting with what you already sense, because the moment you stop arguing for your worth and start observing his patterns, you begin to reclaim your power. Seeing through deflection isn't about catching a man in a lie. It's about realizing when someone cares more about protecting their secrets than protecting your heart. Once you see that clearly, the question isn't whether you're enough. It's whether he's worthy of being with a woman who already is. When a man is hiding another woman, another common and overlooked shift is in how he talks about his need for privacy. Suddenly, what used to feel like a shared life begins to split in two, emotionally, mentally, even physically. He starts saying he needs space or time alone, but not in a way that feels healthy and balanced. Instead, it feels like he's withdrawing emotionally, using his independence as a shield to avoid questions, hide his whereabouts, and dismiss your concerns. There's an important difference between privacy and secrecy. Every person has a right to private thoughts, moments of solitude and personal freedom. But when a man starts turning the life you once shared into a fortress of hidden compartments, he's not practicing independence. He's building walls to keep you out. He becomes selective about his time, vague about his schedule, and defensive when you ask questions that used to flow easily between you. What you're witnessing isn't growth, it's retreat. And often this retreat is a cover for another connection being nurtured in the shadows. One of the earliest signs shows in how he treats his phone. You may have sat next to him while he scrolled, or he would take calls without a second thought. Now, he keeps his phone face down, leaves the room to reply to messages, and creates new boundaries around technology under the excuse of needing peace or focus. But what he's really doing is setting up barriers to protect his secret. You'll notice subtle shifts. He doesn't laugh as much when you're around, yet you hear him laughing alone in another room. He spends more time in digital spaces, while becoming less present in the physical ones you share. This isn't a man taking care of his mental health. This is someone building a hidden life behind a screen. His emotional availability mirrors this guarded stance. He no longer opens up his thoughts to you. Conversations that used to feel alive become short and flat. When you ask how his day went, he says fine. When you ask what's on his mind, he replies nothing important. This deliberate detachment creates a void, one you can feel but struggle to explain, and if you press for more, he accuses you of being nosy or controlling. This isn't about him preserving his individuality, it's about silencing your questions so his secret stays safe. He might even start exaggerating how much he enjoys being alone, how drained he feels by too much interaction, or how much me time he needs. But these declarations feel forced, out of sync with the emotional flow you once shared. It's not natural growth, it's an abrupt shift. What he's seeking isn't balance, it's cover. The more he celebrates this newfound independence, the more alone you start to feel within the relationship. It's important to understand that this isn't always driven by malicious intent. Sometimes even he is conflicted. Deep down he knows he's stepping toward betrayal. But instead of facing that truth directly, he builds walls to avoid the confrontation, both with you and with himself. He convinces himself that keeping these two worlds separate is a form of self-care or self-preservation. He believes no one gets hurt if the lines never cross. But what he fails to see is that his silence, his withdrawal, and his guarded behavior are already creating wounds. Emotional deception cuts as deeply as physical betrayal because it corrodes the trust that intimacy depends on. So as you start feeling shut out, your natural reaction is to try harder, to be more understanding, give him more space, ask fewer questions. You begin to shrink yourself in order to accommodate his growing distance. But no woman should have to dim her needs to tolerate secrecy. True independence in a relationship should strengthen connection, not dissolve it. If his desire for privacy feels like abandonment, then it's not privacy he's seeking, it's permission to detach without facing the consequences. The real question isn't how to win your way back into his guarded world, it's this: why are you settling for exclusion in a relationship that once promised closeness? When a man hides behind the mask of independence to shield another woman's presence in his life, he's not just lying to you. He's rewriting the terms of your relationship without asking for your consent. That isn't a boundary, it's a betrayal. Once you see it for what it is, your role isn't to pull him closer, it's to reclaim your worth and step out of the shadows he's created. When a man begins hiding another woman, one of the clearest signs is his emotional withdrawal. It doesn't happen overnight, nor does it come with any announcement. It happens in layers, like a curtain slowly being drawn across a window, dimming the light until the room you once shared no longer feels like home. You start noticing his absence, even when he's sitting right beside you. He becomes a silent figure, going through the motions, maintaining routines, but lacking the warmth, curiosity, and genuine spark that once defined your bond. His body remains, but his mind and heart have already started drifting elsewhere. At first you might tell yourself he's just stressed. He says work is overwhelming, that he's tired, that he needs to unplug. And because you care, you give him grace. You tell yourself he needs time to breathe. But weeks pass, and the emotional distance only grows. He stops asking about the small details of your day. When you talk, he nods, but his eyes seem far away. These aren't the signs of a temporary distraction, they're symptoms of a deeper shift. He has begun investing his emotional energy somewhere else, and what remains with you is only a hollow version of the man you knew. This kind of emotional absence is excruciating because it's quiet. It doesn't roar. It whispers. And it makes you question yourself. You wonder if you've done something wrong, if you've become less interesting, less attractive, less needed. You try harder to reconnect. You plan special nights, ask deeper questions. You silence your own needs, believing that if you give him love and space at the same time, he'll return to you. But emotional withdrawal isn't healed by your effort, it's revealed by it. The more you reach for him, the more his silence grows, and the more his indifference shows. What's happening here isn't just neglect, it's redirection. Emotional connection isn't an endless resource. When a man begins to form a new bond, even if it's just beginning, he starts to regulate his feelings through someone else. He shares his thoughts, his fears, and his excitement with the other woman in ways he no longer does with you. You feel the void, not because you've changed, but because he's offering his intimacy elsewhere. His withdrawal isn't passive. It's deliberate. He's still emotionally alive, just not with you anymore. To cover this distance, he may keep up appearances. He might still say I love you, still perform kind gestures, still do what's expected, but these actions feel hollow, robotic, like they're scripted rather than felt. This kind of emotional masking is especially cruel because it breeds confusion. You think, but he says he loves me, maybe I'm imagining this. Yet love without emotional presence isn't love. It's a performance. A way to preserve the comfort of your relationship while protecting the thrill of his secret life. And when you finally confront him about the growing distance, he's likely to minimize it. He may say, "You're overthinking," or "You're being dramatic," or even, "Nothing has changed." This is gaslighting at its most subtle. It's not meant to make you feel crazy. It's meant to make you doubt your instincts so he doesn't have to face hard questions. By denying the obvious, he gets to exist in two realities, keeping you as his emotional anchor while nurturing a new connection behind the scenes. The tragedy is that many women blame themselves for this distance. They internalize his withdrawal as a reflection of their inadequacy, rather than seeing it for what it really is, his divided loyalty. But let this sink in, it's not your fault he's become emotionally unavailable. It's not your failure that he chose secrecy over honesty. When a man pulls away emotionally yet stays physically present, he isn't just hiding his feelings. He's robbing you of clarity, of intimacy, and of the right to make informed choices about your heart. His silence teaches you a powerful truth. Presence isn't about proximity, it's about emotional engagement. And when a man retreats from that engagement without explanation, it's not just a red flag, it's a signal that he's already begun writing a new story without you in it. At that point, your responsibility isn't to follow him into the silence, it's to honor your own intuition and begin choosing yourself. Because love, real love, doesn't hide in the shadows of distance. It stands fully in the light. The man is hiding another woman. One of the most jarring shifts is how he suddenly becomes overly critical of you. This criticism doesn't stem from care or concern. It comes from his growing discomfort within himself. His guilt turns into irritation, which he then projects onto you. He starts noticing flaws he once found charming. His tone sharpens, his patience thins. You may find that everything you say or do seems to frustrate him. The way you ask questions, express feelings, even the way you dress or spend your time. But the truth is, what's wrong isn't you. It's the heavy weight of his secret pressing against the life you still share. This change often catches you off guard. One moment things seem fine, the next you're walking on eggshells. His compliments become rare. His encouragement fades. In their place, he starts focusing on your supposed shortcomings, real or imagined. He might say, "You're too emotional, too clingy, too distant, too demanding." These criticisms aren't meant to help, they're meant to destabilize you and create emotional distance. When a man is hiding someone else, he needs to subconsciously justify his betrayal. One way he does this is by convincing himself, and sometimes even you, that the relationship isn't fulfilling, that you no longer meet his needs. This serves two purposes. First, it allows him to rationalize his actions. If he can frame you as the problem, he doesn't have to face the truth of his dishonesty. He may even cast himself as a victim, stuck in a situation where he feels unappreciated or misunderstood. Second, his criticism keeps you distracted. When you're busy trying to win his approval again, you're less likely to notice the inconsistencies in his stories, the gaps in his attention, and the emotional energy he's giving elsewhere. This tactic slowly chips away at your confidence. You start questioning your worth. You analyze every word, every gesture, wondering if you're the reason he's pulling away. But here's the truth. His betrayal isn't about your flaws. It's about his choices. Over time, this dynamic can deeply erode your self-esteem. You hesitate to speak up, fearing more criticism. You begin suppressing your emotions, hoping to keep the peace, because they're no longer met with compassion, but with disdain. And in that process, you slowly begin to lose your voice in the relationship. This is what emotional erosion looks like, not in one sudden act of betrayal, but in the steady chipping away of your sense of worth and clarity. His criticism isn't about your real value. It's a reflection of his inner turmoil projected outward, so he doesn't have to face it alone. What makes it especially painful is how those moments of criticism are sometimes broken up with small flashes of kindness. He might say sorry, act gentle for a while, or make a grand gesture, but the cycle always returns. These occasional acts of warmth make the pattern even more confusing and addictive. They give you hope that things will return to how they once were. But what you're really caught in is a psychological loop designed to keep you emotionally tied while he keeps one foot out of the relationship. Sooner or later, you have to ask yourself, if someone only focuses on the worst in you while hiding the truth from you, is that really love, or is it a strategy? Criticism that isn't rooted in care and honesty becomes a tool of control. It reduces you so he doesn't have to feel small because of his own choices. The moment you see this clearly, you begin to understand the pattern for what it really is, not proof of your inadequacy, but a sign of his dishonesty. And in that realization lies your first step back into your own power. When a man is hiding another woman, his patterns of physical closeness often change, in subtle ways at first, but become impossible to miss over time. What once felt natural, connected, and emotionally alive starts to feel transactional, distant, or even absent. He may no longer show affection with the same energy or desire, or when he does, there's a clear shift in his presence, as if he's there in body but far away in mind. It can feel like he's just going through the motions, offering touch without tenderness, contact without connection. For many women, this creates deep confusion. You begin to wonder if you're imagining things, if maybe your own fears are clouding your judgment, but your body often senses the truth before your mind does. You can feel it when a man's intimacy is no longer anchored in love. One common sign is a sudden drop in physical closeness, less sex, fewer hugs, rare hand-holding, or a coldness during cuddling. The gestures that once created warmth between you now feel scarce or mechanical. When you ask him about it, he might blame stress, tiredness, or work pressures. And while those things can affect anyone's mood, a consistent emotional distance, without any honest effort to reconnect, often signals something deeper. Underneath, there's usually a shift of emotional and sexual energy. Consciously or not, he's starting to attach those parts of himself to someone else, leaving you standing in the emotional cold. Sometimes, though, the change swings the other way. He might become more sexually intense, almost as if trying too hard to prove something. But this isn't about love or passion, it's about control and easing his own guilt. He may want to convince both himself and you that nothing has changed, but if you're attuned, you'll notice the difference. His touch feels different, his eyes avoid yours, he's less responsive to your needs. And afterward, there's no closeness, no conversation, just silence. Sex stops being a shared act of love and becomes a performance to maintain the image of normality. Another sign is how he reacts to your need for affection. If you reach for his hand, lean on his shoulder, or express your desire for intimacy, he might pull away, act irritated, or seem disinterested. He may even accuse you of being too needy or say he just wants space to relax. This doesn't just sting, it shakes you deeply, because it isn't simply rejection, it feels like dismissal. It sends the message that your longing for connection is an inconvenience. But the truth is, your desire for closeness is natural and healthy. For a man balancing two emotional or physical attachments, though, your needs can start to feel like an obstacle. You go from being a priority to feeling like an interruption. This shift often comes with emotional manipulation. If you try to talk about what you're noticing, he may accuse you of being paranoid or too sensitive. He might say you're imagining things or making drama where there's none. This gaslighting makes you retreat inward, questioning your own instincts, doubting what you feel in your body. But real love doesn't erase connection like this. True intimacy doesn't suddenly turn cold without a deeper reason. What you're sensing isn't paranoia. It's your intuition responding to an emotional fracture. It's vital to remember that intimacy isn't only about sex. It's about energy, attention, safety, and emotional openness. When a man is keeping secrets, he loses the ability or willingness to be truly vulnerable. Secrets create walls, so even if he's physically present, the emotional core of your connection begins to decay. The space between you isn't filled with trust and shared meaning anymore. Instead, it holds unspoken truths, half-hearted gestures, and emotional disconnection. As this gap widens, you may find yourself trying harder, initiating more affection, changing how you dress, softening your boundaries, or accommodating his moods. This is a natural reaction when love feels like it's slipping away. But the harder you work to bridge the gap, the more obvious the imbalance becomes. You're building a bridge he no longer wants to cross. You're nurturing a bond he has already started to betray. The hard truth is, when closeness is no longer mutual, when affection feels forced, withheld, or used as a weapon, it isn't just a relationship issue. It's a mirror showing you a deeper break, one that often involves someone else. This is why it's crucial to trust your body, listen to your instincts, and honor the emotional signals within you, because the absence of intimacy isn't just a passing phase, it's often the sign of a heart that's no longer fully with you. And in that truth lies your strength. The strength to face what's happening and to choose yourself before someone else's secrets